So this guy J.A. Swoosh made this video called "If Jimmy High Roller doesn't make this video, then I will." I have a hunch on what this video is already about, but let's get straight into it.
The Boston Celtics finished the season with a point differential of plus 132 against the top teams in the NBA, which means they weren't just beating really good teams, they were destroying really good teams. And that's why, according to the numbers, the Boston Celtics will be the 2022 NBA champions.
Just
so close yet so far. So close yet so far, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sad. I am so sad.
2 games. Jimmy was just 2 games shy of predicting the 2022 NBA champion right before the playoffs even started. Now, if you're not aware or just happen to live underneath a rock, this is Jimmy High Roller, the best NBA content creator on YouTube.
I know a little bit about Jimber.
He came out with this video, which talks about using purely numbers to find out which team would win the 2022 NBA championship right before the playoffs even started. Now, if you're a fan of this channel, this video has become a yearly tradition, because in 2023, Jimmy released the sequel to this video, where he once again attempted to predict the NBA champion right before the playoffs, and not to my surprise, got the same result as I did, that the Boston Celtics would be the 2023 NBA champions.
Oh my goodness, back-to-back seasons. Apparently, we were supposed to win a championship going into the playoffs. Going into the 2022 season, we weren't supposed to. I am not going to be gaslit that far. But 2023, man, I don't think we beat Denver once we make it to the finals, but the path was definitely there to, at the very least, make it to the dance, dog.
But as we know, this was wrong, as Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin ripped the heart out of every single Celtics fan left. Well, if there was any Celtics fans left. Because I never knew rooting for a sports team could be so stressful. I mean, I've never seen such a good team play this up and down in the playoffs. Nevertheless, I thought to myself,
I don't think y'all understand how stressful it is to be a Celtics fan, dog. Specifically these last 2 years. Because in 2022, going up against the Nets, boy, I understand we were the 1 seed or whatever, but going up against KD and Kyrie in the first round, I swear to God, like, people are trying to revise that series. Y'all need to understand going into that series, just because KD and Kyrie were on the other team and because of the fact that the Celtics were not proven, a lot of people had the Nets upsetting the Boston Celtics that round. Yeah, the second round was against the Bucks, and JT and the Celtics had to come back from 3-2. JT had to put on a master class in Game 6, and then Game 7, I believe that was the Grant Williams game. Yes, the Grant Williams game. And then the Eastern Conference Finals went to 7 against Miami, almost choked it up in Game 7. And then the NBA Finals was the NBA Finals, and that was a whole new level of stress that I wasn't used to as a person that hasn't seen the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals since 2010. And then the year after, the first round was supposed to be easy against Atlanta. And then Atlanta made it tough. We had to go to 6 games against them. We were down 3-2 against the 76ers in the second round again. JT was having a stinker of stinkers in Game 6. I was ready to eviscerate Jason Tatum after that game, but he came through in the clutch, and then Game 7 happened, and then he dropped 50. And then in the Eastern Conference Finals, first of all, just going down 0-3 was already stressful enough as is. But for the next 3, really 4, because it did go to 7, 4 games of elimination games. I've lost some years being a Celtics fan these last couple of years, dog. Like, it's been tough. I don't know how I'm alive right now, dude. And that is why I am so skeptical when it comes to this. That's why a lot of people are skeptical with this team, regardless of how successful they are, because they always somehow make it stressful. Just always somehow make it stressful.
If Jimmy doesn't give this thing another shot this year, then I will.
Third win in this series for...
Now, if you guys are familiar with Jimmy's 2023 NBA champion prediction video, you might have heard this guy, the JK. This data scientist basically has created the blueprint of what it takes for a team to become an NBA champion, as he has made a machine learning model that predicted 3 out of the last 4 NBA champions correctly. But I wanted to take this up a notch, so I expanded on his work and created a machine learning model that not only predicted all the last 4 NBA champions correctly, but 8 out of the last 10 NBA champions correctly.
Whoa. What model is he using? He won up the last thing, bruh. What the hell? 8 of the last 10?
With that said, I'm hoping this goes better this time, because my head hurts from doing this. For full details of how I created this model and all the results, you can find my article linked in the description. But for now, just like what Jimmy did, let's take a look at some of the most meaningful statistics from my research to find our NBA champion.
Okay.
The main metrics we'll be covering is top 3 conference, over 600 record, and counter to what Jimmy says, pre-playoff odds have shown significant importance in finding NBA champions. Now, if you had to guess, how many NBA champions did not have a top 3 seeded team entering the playoffs? Would you say 8, 5, or 3? Well,
not a top 3 seed. I would guess over 80% of teams that win an NBA championship had a top 3 seed.
If you answered 1, you are correct. Since 1980, there's only been one NBA team to win the title that was not a top 3 seed.
Right.
That being the Houston Rockets back in 1995. Truly the craziest title run ever. But that said, every NBA team must either have a Hakeem Olajuwon or a top 3 seed in order to win the NBA title. So the top 3 seeds for this NBA season are the Celtics, Knicks, Bucks, Thunder, Nuggets, and Wolves. Now, since 1980, nearly 50% of all NBA champions are ranked first in the league in over 600 record, and 84% of all NBA champions ranked top 5 in the league in this statistic. The 2006 Miami Heat were the only championship team that played like absolute dog water against the best teams in the league, with only an over 600 win percentage of 23%.
This is the record of teams facing other teams over 600, from my understanding.
Despite that, realistically, every NBA champion needs to fall within the top 8 in this metric. So for this season, these top 8 teams are the Thunder, Bucks, Celtics,
we're still in it. We're
Wolves,
still in it.
Nuggets,
We're still in
Pacers,
it.
Pelicans, and Kings. Now, something interesting that Jimmy said in his last video on this subject was, and I quote, "Preseason favorites and Vegas odds provide about zero assistance, as they never seem to get it right." Well, in terms of predicting the last 5 NBA champions, Jimmy is correct.
Yeah, so
as
much shit
pre-playoff
happens.
odds from Caesars Sportsbook have been wrong on hitting the NBA champion since 2019. But since 1980, the team that ranked first in pre-playoff odds by Caesars Sportsbook has been the NBA champion 52.3% of the time.
That's not accurate enough for me. 52.8, over half, cool, but that's not accurate enough for me.
3% of all NBA champions are top 3 in this statistic. So all this means one or both of these things. First is that Vegas is filled with the best data scientists in the world, and secondly, the NBA landscape is more unpredictable than ever before.
Yep.
With the death of super teams and the new rules on salary cap, predicting future NBA champions is only going to get harder. Now, since 1980, every NBA champion has had pre-playoff odds of at least plus 1800. The bottom dwellers being the 2011 Mavericks and the 1995 Houston Rockets. So the current teams that have odds greater than plus 1800 are the Celtics, Nuggets, Clippers, Bucks, Thunder, 76ers, and Mavericks. Now, just like Jimmy has demonstrated in the past, our true contenders should be all the teams that show up in these 3 assessments. So the teams that show up are the Celtics, Nuggets, Thunder, and Bucks. Okay.
But before this video ends, I do just want to talk about who I truly think have a chance to win the championship. I think there are a lot of teams in these playoffs that have the intent of winning a championship. And if they are trying to contend for a championship, and if that is your criteria as to what a true championship contender is, then fine. There are a lot of fucking teams in the league that are championship contenders. But I truly do think there is a level above that of teams that have a more realistic shot, a way more realistic shot of winning the championship over others. And I want to point those out right now. I think Celtics and the Nuggets are wanting to clear. They have not only are they a championship contender, they got a real shot of winning that shit. Outside of Denver, I am going to put OKC in that discussion. I am going to put Dallas in that discussion. I am going to put... It's tough because Giannis is out. I'm going to put Giannis... If the Bucks are healthy, this is a caveat pick, I guess. If Giannis is healthy, the Bucks are in that category. I'm still hesitant to put Minnesota in there. And I feel like if the Lakers get going, I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, I would say definitively Boston, OKC, Denver, Mavericks. I don't want to make this take as a disrespect to the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. So I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I do think more than ever it is tougher to actually weed out what those teams are. Those separators aren't really separating this year, I feel like.
Okay, this is where it gets tough because these next assessments will reveal the creaks in the armor of these true contenders. Now first, if you were to guess how many NBA champions since 1980 did not have a past MVP, current MVP, or past finals MVP on the roster, what would you say? 5 champions?
Past, current, MVP, or past finals MVP? Probably only the 04 Pistons, right? Every other team has had a past MVP, past finals MVP, or a current MVP on their roster. I feel like this is way too vague of a criteria, though. You know what I'm saying? If you're including, you either got the current MVP, the past MVP, or just a past finals MVP, that's essentially you saying, I don't like this
champions, 7 champions. Well, if you said 3, that's correct. Since 1980, the only 3 teams to break this rule is the 1981 Celtics, 89 Pistons, and 04 Pistons. Besides beating the living daylights out of their opponent, these 3 teams all had a top 4 defensive rating, were all top 3 in their conference, and all achieved at least 6 playoff wins last postseason. Now, Boston actually meets and exceeds the necessary attributes of those non-superstar champions, but OKC does not. So when considering this unique rule at face value, Boston and Oklahoma City break it, with
who is the... Oh, yeah, because Boston doesn't have a current past or finals MVP.
only Denver and Milwaukee having MVP-level stars on their team. Now, this next metric is a bit unique because it's mine. It's called Team Rating Custom, a historical statistic that measures the overall current strength of the team based on a current player rating formula that scores a player based on their current value over replacement, the amount of MVP shares they've obtained in the last 5 seasons, the SRS of their respective team, the total amount of playoff experience that player has, the total amount of MVP shares that player has, and lastly, how many points per game did that player average this season? Yeah, it's lengthy but good, because every NBA champion
lengthy but good. No diddy.
Since 1980 has been top 8 in the league in this metric. So when looking at our true contenders, the Bucks are the only team that ranks outside of the top 8 in the league in this metric. And since this is a 100% championship team requirement, this eliminates the Bucks from contention. So next, as we know, NBA offense is almost broken at this point. With advancements in analytics, player skill, and rule changes, the NBA nowadays is all about...
I just find it interesting that these discussions go away once the postseason starts every single year. Not to say that today's offenses aren't more advanced than years past, but it's just funny how once the playoffs roll around, when the game slows down, when refereeing is more physical, the conversation about offense being too detrimental to the game just kind of go away. It's kind of funny to me. I don't know.
Buckets and the efficiency at which someone gets them.
What these young bloods have to understand, that this game has always been and will always be about buckets.
Now, since 1980, not every eventual champion needs to meet this rule, but since 2010, offensive efficiency has never been more important because every champion since then has been top 5 in the league in offensive effective field goal percentage. And out of our true contenders, the Denver Nuggets actually break this rule, as they are not top 5 in the league in this metric. So after revealing the holes in our true contenders, the Bucks are the only team that broke a 100% championship requirement, leaving us now with the Nuggets, Celtics, and Thunder. Now, the only way to find which exact team can take home this year's NBA championship is to simply do the math. So when analyzing this season's playoff teams through a variety of deep and complex predictive mathematical models using decades and decades of historical data, the Thunder and Nuggets did not show the same consistency as the Celtics. But when running the final numbers with just decimals of a difference, the Denver Nuggets edged the Boston Celtics in the final aggregation.
Okay, so we're not favored to win the championship this year. Nice to know. Nice to know.
That said, I believe the Denver Nuggets will be the 2024 NBA champions. They meet about every championship metric. They have an MVP superstar, the experience, and have everything that it takes to become back-to-back champions. Now, as we talked about before, numbers are not everything.
Whew, thank God, man. I don't like all this pressure on my C's, dog. Like I said, man, I think we're a team that operates better when we're trying to prove people wrong with our back against the wall on some underdog mentality shit. When we're asked to dominate, when we're asked to be the A side, that's when things get kind of shaky. not kind of. That's when things actually get really shaky.
It's impossible to quantify every variable in existence, from injuries to refs to in-game adjustments, and everything in between. Life in its entirety is unpredictable. Overall, if there's anything I've learned from spending many hours on this subject, it's that predicting the NBA champion is very hard. But with that said, I feel
I mean, the main thing holding back Boston from being everyone's favorite and really not having doubt truly is just Jason Tatum. Like, I want to make so many excuses for this team. Y'all bugging, y'all tripping. All of these questions, all of these doubts are just answered if Jason Tatum steps the fuck up and plays at that tier 1 level. Because literally in this video, the Celtics met every single criteria for a championship roster outside of the past finals MVP, current MVP, or past MVP, or past finals MVP metric. They have met every single other criteria outside of that. And I do think more than anything, outside of obviously being a top 3 seed, having a good record going into the playoffs, which is to me an indicator of the fact that you can be good, if not great, at a consistent basis. Once you get into the meat and potatoes, as much as it is a team game, just historically speaking, bro, there has to be something to the fact that, again, every single NBA champion has had that tier 1 player playing at that tier 1 level throughout the playoffs. Outside of the 04 Pistons, outside of the 2014 Spurs, you know, because at that point we're talking about outliers, but the outliers aren't the rule.
Super confident that Denver or Boston will walk away as the champions this season. Anyways, I hope we get it right this time. For full prediction results, feel free to check out my article linked in the description. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.
Listen, man, shout out to Brody for the video. J.A. Swoosh, great video. Great video. Boston, let's go out there and get the job done this year, man. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of the hate, man. But with that being said, I am out, man. Peace.